Hello, beautiful YouTubers. Welcome to my channel, Vermont Sun and Shade. If you are new to the channel, I am so happy that you are here, and I am happy to hear from you. And, if you're in Vermont or out of Vermont or just curious about Vermont, and there's something very specific you'd like to know, I'm more than happy to do a little research for you and do a summary video for you and give you a little more info. And if you're coming back, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you. So, I found a beautiful article about covered bridges that was in the Burlington Free Press just a little while ago here by Sydney Hakes. And I'm just going to give you a summary of what he says about covered bridges and then go through just several of the covered bridges that he mentions in the article because it's kind of interesting. So first, I just want to show you a snapshot here of a covered bridge, just in case you're not familiar with a covered bridge. There's certain things about Vermont you do learn the terminology when you come up here. So, covered bridges were first made basically to protect the main structure of the bridge. And if you know Vermont or you've been up here a lifetime or a couple of lifetimes, you know that the winters, especially in the spring too, can be very, very hard on the terrain, especially if you're in the upper elevations. Now, granted, the past decade, things have definitely warmed up a little bit here in Vermont. There's no doubt about it. And whatever the reason is, the climate has definitely warmed up. The winters are much more mild, but picture way back when in the 1800s and the early 1900s, these winters up here we would get many feet of snow. 10, 12 feet, 15 feet by the time of the winter was over. And things were iced over for a very long time. So you could see where the covered bridges would come in very handy. Then they were also used for trains, for the railroad to traverse over, and for trade and commerce. So as time went on, so things have changed in the economy, the climate has changed, but guess what? We still have over 700 bridges. So all of these bridges have names, and many of these bridges are really tiny, and they might be on the back roads, more or less. If you're in Vermont and you live here, you'll have learned where many of these bridges are. So to just name a few, there's the Cornish-Windsor Bridge. And this bridge is a connector between Vermont and New Hampshire, and it's one of the longest bridges. It goes across the Connecticut River. It's 450 feet long. And it has, and this is how he puts it. I love the way this article is written. It has outlived 3 other bridges in New England that were destroyed by floods, but it's the longest wooden bridge in the United States. So that is really something. And it was built in 1866. And it has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So, if you come up to Vermont, this is definitely a bridge to check out. It has a lattice truss design, and it's made of spruce and pine timber. And it's about 24 feet wide and about 28 feet high. The Cornish-Windsor Covered Bridge played a vital role in facilitating trade and commerce between the two states. So during the 19th century. So then there's the Fisher Covered Railroad Bridge, and that's located in Wolcott, and that was built in 1908. And this is how he puts it. It was originally carried the St. Johnsbury and Lamoille County Railroad line over the Lamoille River. So the state leased the railroad to a private operator in 1989 until all operations stopped in 1994. Severe flooding washed out the bridge in 1997. And in 2001, the Fisher Covered Bridge was renovated into a park by the state. So that would be well worth taking a visit to. The Poland Covered Bridge. This is a really interesting story if you haven't heard of it, if you're not familiar with Cambridge. So Cambridge, I mean, St. Johnsbury and these other places are adorable too, but Cambridge is so sweet, you know, and it lays at the bottom of Smuggler's Notch, but Cambridge is just an adorable town. And so anyway, this bridge, it's located in Cambridge, and the Poland Bridge crosses the Lamoille River, and it also gains admission to the National Register of Historic Places. So it's listed as a historic bridge as of 1974. So it's also known as the Junction Covered Bridge of Cambridge. That's how I know it, but this is very interesting. It was built in 1887 and named after a local judge, Poland. And I have heard this story before, but it was brought great controversy with the Morrisville newspaper news in 1888, reporting, this is what they said in the newspaper: Judge Poland has caused the town of Cambridge to be inflicted with a bridge and a road at the expense of from $6,000 to $10,000, which, as shown, will be of no material benefit to anyone but himself. This was put in the public newspaper. It will be known in the future as Poland's Bridge, except to the taxpayers of Cambridge, who will christen it the Bridge of Sighs. They're talking about the taxes. Isn't that interesting? You wouldn't put something like that, I don't think, in the paper today. Then there's the Brown Covered Bridge. So the Brown Bridge was recently named as a National Historic Landmark also in Vermont and claimed to be one of the oldest bridges in the United States. It was built in 1880 by Nicholas M. Powers, and it spans about 100 feet in length, and it crosses over the Cold River. The bridge closed in 2011 due to damage and decay from flooding from Hurricane Irene. For those of you who remember Hurricane Irene, the roads that were in front of our houses were suddenly gone. They were rivers, basically. I mean, it was something. So this is not much to a surprise. The bridge closed, due to damage and decay of Irene. It reopened when it was declared a National Historic Landmark in 2016 with renovations, although most of the structure and roof are original, so that's good. Then there's the Middle Covered Bridge, and I'm going to do this bridge and then talk about Emily's Bridge, because a lot of you may have heard of that one too. Or even have personal experiences with the ghost of that bridge. So, Middle Covered Bridge, it was constructed in 1969. The Middle Covered Bridge replaced an iron bridge that was built in 1877. And on May 11th, 1974, the bridge was set afire by arsonists, and it took 3 years and almost $55,000 to complete it in repairs. The bridge can be traversed by car or foot, or it's like a little walkway, really. Flowers and greenery peak the lattice and make it a little picturesque. Woodstock has 2 other covered bridges, which are located in the hamlets of Taftville and west of Woodstock. But yeah, this little bridge is adorable over there in southern part of Vermont, Woodstock. Okay, now Emily's Bridge. Emily is known as the Gold Brook Bridge. And this 1844 bridge in Stowe spans Gold Brook. Being one of the oldest covered bridges in Vermont, it carries secrets and stories of its own. So the story is, well, first let me tell you this. It's a 50-foot long single lane bridge. And I don't have a picture of it right here, but it is spooky looking in itself. It really is. Now, what people do in Vermont, many people, when they especially just learn about Emily's Bridge, they think they want to challenge it, and they go and they park on the bridge in the middle of the night. Now, I don't know if they still have it cut off at a certain time, but it was such that people were doing this and they were getting so scared that they ended up roping off the bridge for a little while. So I don't know if it's open or not right now, but it probably is open. But people go, they park the car on the bridge, and they hear a woman's voice. And many times the story goes, and I've heard this from people, many people, and people who would not just make things up like this, but they hear like fingernails scratching on the car. They see scratches on the car. And then some of them have even gotten scratches on their arms and their back and their bodies. True stories. So that's Emily's Bridge. The story is Emily, way back in the 1800s, she was wanted to run away with her boyfriend. And story has it that her father didn't like the boyfriend, but she was going to meet the boyfriend at the bridge. And they were going to run away and elope. And he never showed up. And so she unalived herself. That's the story. And that she's still there today with deep emotional scars. So not only did her family not like the boyfriend, but then the boyfriend didn't show up. Now, many people debunk that and say that is not what happened and whatnot. But that's the story that goes around on Emily's Bridge. And that's in Stowe. So anyway, with that, I thought I would just get on here and share this with you today. By far, the covered bridges are just lovely. If you want to take a picture and get it like a little postcard, make postcards or greeting cards, they are, you can find them from southern to northern Vermont. You'll find them. And anyway, with that, I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Thank you so much for being with me. I'll be jumping on here again very soon, sharing some more sun. And, well, I guess with this one, the Emily story would have been the shade. So with that, you have a beautiful day.